Let me ask you something. What if I told you that you could lose up to 12% of your body fat in just 21 days? No cardio, no starvation, no hours in the gym. Sounds insane? Good. Because the truth always sounds extreme until it works. Most people think fat loss requires suffering. Running for hours, starving yourself, hating food, hating life. But what if fat loss wasn't about burning out, but about reprogramming your body? This is not a gimmick. This is science-backed transformation. And if you can commit to these next 21 days, I promise you will look in the mirror and not recognize the person staring back. When people hear the words lose fat, their minds immediately go to restriction. Less food, fewer calories, skipping meals, cutting carbs. But here's the truth. Starvation doesn't signal your body to burn fat. It signals your body to preserve it. Starvation is a stressor, and your biology is built for survival, not aesthetics. So when you starve yourself, when you crash diet or restrict yourself beyond reason, your body doesn't get lean, it gets scared. Cortisol goes up, your sleep suffers, your energy drops, and most importantly, your metabolism starts to slow down. That's not fat loss, that's self-sabotage disguised as discipline. The real key to losing 12% body fat in 21 days without cardio or starvation is nutrient timing, not just what you eat, but when you eat it and how your body is primed to respond. You can eat strategically and still feel full, energized, and powerful. That's because fat loss isn't about eating less, it's about eating smart. First, let's reframe how we think about meals. Food isn't just calories. Food is information. Every bite you take sends a signal to your brain, your gut, your liver, your fat cells. It tells your body what to do next. When you eat protein, for example, it sends signals to release dopamine, increases satiety hormones like leptin, and triggers muscle repair and metabolic activation. That's why we start with protein. Every meal, not as a side, not as an afterthought, but as the foundation. When you front load your day with a high protein, moderate fat meal, say pasture raised eggs, avocado, maybe some grass fed beef, or a protein shake, you're sending a signal to your brain and body. Fuel is here. You're safe. Burn Clean does something powerful. It flattens the glucose curve, reduces sugar cravings, and sets your dopamine in focus for the rest of the day. It keeps insulin low. And that's critical because fat can't be mobilized in the presence of high insulin. Now, contrast that with what most people do. They skip breakfast, then binge at night, or they eat a sugary, carb-loaded breakfast, cereal, toast, fruit juice, spike their blood sugar, crash by noon, and then wonder why they're exhausted. That's a hormonal roller coaster, and it kills fat loss. The goal here isn't just to not eat sugar. The goal is to keep insulin low during the day while keeping energy high. And protein is your anchor. Let's talk about carbs for a second. You don't need to eliminate them, but you need to time them. Carbs are best consumed when your body is insulin sensitive, typically after training or in the evening. Yes, the evening. Because in a low insulin fasted state during the day, you're promoting fat oxidation. You're teaching your body to use stored fat as fuel. But if you flood your system with sugar early, you shut that down. Instead, if you eat complex carbs like sweet potato, berries, or quinoa, at dinner, you do two things. You refill glycogen stores without disrupting fat burning during the day, and you actually improve your sleep through increased serotonin and melatonin production. Better sleep equals better recovery. Better recovery equals better fat loss. Now let's break a myth wide open. You need to eat every 2-3 hours to boost your metabolism. False. What you need is meal spacing, 3 structured, protein-rich meals per day with no snacking in between. Why? Because every time you eat, you spike insulin. And when insulin is elevated, fat burning halts. So if you're constantly grazing, even on healthy snacks, your body never gets a chance to enter a fat-burning state. Let's say you eat at 8 IMing, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. That gives you a mini fast between meals and a longer fast overnight, ideally 12, 14 hours. That's where the magic happens. You don't have to do hardcore intermittent fasting, but a 14-hour fast between dinner and breakfast lets your body tap into stored fat. It's not deprivation, it's metabolic strategy. And hunger? That's not your enemy. In fact, feeling a little hungry before meals is a good sign. It means your ghrelin and leptin rhythms are working. When you're constantly snacking to avoid hunger, you're blunting those natural signals. And over time, you lose metabolic flexibility. Your body forgets how to burn fat because it never gets the chance. Now, Here's a powerful shift. The better you eat, the less you crave. It's not about willpower, it's about chemistry. When you give your brain amino acids from protein, healthy fats to stabilize energy, and micronutrients from real food, your cravings drop. You're not fighting yourself, you're working with your biology, not against it. Hydration is also part of this. Most people mistake thirst for hunger. So start your day with 500 mils to 1 liter of water before your first meal. Add some sea salt or electrolytes to improve cellular hydration. A hydrated body is more metabolically active. It moves nutrients better, burns cleaner, and performs sharper. Let's also talk about caffeine. You don't need to quit coffee, but delay your first cup by 90, 120 minutes after waking. Why? Because your cortisol is highest in the morning. If you slam caffeine during a cortisol peak, you spike stress, elevate blood sugar, and create a dependency loop. Instead, let your natural energy systems wake up, then use coffee strategically pre-training or mid-morning to boost focus and mobilize fat. And here's a tip most people overlook. Chewing. Yes, chewing. Digestion starts in the mouth. If you're scarfing down meals in 5 minutes, distracted on your phone, your body isn't digesting properly. Slow down, breathe between bites. You'll absorb more, eat less, and optimize nutrient signaling. This isn't about dieting. This is about designing your day so that your body wants to burn fat. You're not forcing it. You're aligning with it. That's what nutrient timing is. You eat to fuel, you space meals to lower insulin, you sleep to recover, and through it all, you don't feel restricted, you feel in control. So if someone tells you the only way to lose fat is to starve, to suffer, to grind through hunger, walk away. That's not discipline, that's dysfunction. True transformation doesn't come from punishment, it comes from precision. When most people think about fat loss, they immediately imagine cardio, hours on the treadmill, running in circles, jumping around in sweat-drenched routines that feel more like punishment than progress. But here's what you need to understand. Your body doesn't burn fat just because you're moving. It burns fat when your metabolism is triggered, when your hormones are aligned, and when your muscle tissue is activated to demand more fuel. Long cardio isn't efficient. In fact, it can work against you. Chronic cardio elevates cortisol, and when cortisol stays high, your body doesn't just burn fat, it breaks down muscle, and muscle is your metabolism's best friend. Every pound of muscle you have demands energy just to exist. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. So the more lean muscle you preserve and build, the more fat you burn, even when you're sitting still. That's not theory, that's basic human physiology. So the key to rapid fat loss without starvation or endless cardio isn't running, it's resistance. Strategic, short, high-intensity resistance training that tells your body, this person is active, they're powerful, and we need to prioritize muscle. Because if your body thinks you're weak, it will happily burn off muscle during a fat loss phase. But if you challenge it, even for just 15 minutes a day, it will protect that muscle and use stored fat for fuel instead. Let's be clear. You don't need a gym. You don't need fancy equipment. What you need is consistency, intention, and structure. You can train at home. You can train with just your body weight, but you have to activate your full body, especially large muscle groups, glutes, quads, hamstrings, back, chest. That's where the energy demand lives. That's where the fat burning happens. So what does this look like in practice? It looks like compound movements. Exercises that hit multiple muscle groups at once. Think squats, push-ups, pull-ups, lunges, planks, rows. Movements that don't just isolate, but integrate. These exercises build strength, coordination, and metabolic intensity. They signal to your body muscle is needed, fuel must be mobilized. Now combine those movements in a circuit, minimal rest, high effort. You go from a set of squats into push-ups, then into planks, then lunges, keep moving, get breathless. That oxygen debt you're feeling, that's your body ramping up its energy systems. That's where fat loss begins. Not during the workout, but after, in the recovery phase, when your body is still working to restore balance. This is called EPOC. Excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. It's real. It means your body continues burning calories long after your workout ends, not just for 10 minutes, but for hours. That doesn't happen with steady state cardio. It happens when you hit the nervous system hard, when you recruit fast twitch muscle fibers, when you trigger an adaptive response. And here's something critical. Duration does not equal intensity. You don't need 90-minute workouts. You need 15, 20 minutes of focused, intentional, full body resistance work performed at a pace that challenges you. That's it. but it must be consistent. It must be daily or near daily. Even 4 or 5 sessions a week can transform your body if you remove the fluff and stay focused. Now, what happens internally when you train like this? When you activate large muscle groups, you increase the expression of GLUT4, a glucose transporter. That means your muscles become better at pulling in sugar from the bloodstream. Insulin sensitivity improves. That's fat loss gold. Your body becomes less dependent on insulin, stores less fat, and burns more fuel in the right places inside the muscle. Training also stimulates hormones that favor fat loss: testosterone, growth hormone, and adrenaline. These are not just gym words. These are biochemicals that determine your body composition. Resistance training triggers them naturally, without drugs, without side effects. When you challenge your body, you signal strength is needed, and your body answers by shifting from fat storage mode to fat burning mode. You also build a brain-body connection that most people ignore. Movement isn't just physical, it's neurological. When you train with purpose, you increase dopamine, acetylcholine, and norepinephrine, the neurotransmitters of focus, energy, and drive. So you don't just lose fat, you feel alive. Your brain sharpens, your outlook shifts, your motivation isn't drained, it's built. Let's talk about recovery. People think more is better, but with this kind of training, less is more when it's structured right. Your body doesn't grow during the workout, it grows after. Sleep, nutrition, hydration, that's where the muscle repairs and the fat burns. That's why your workouts need to be short, intense, and recoverable. That way you can come back tomorrow and do it again. Not broken, not drained, but ready. And here's the beautiful part. You start to notice changes quickly, not in weeks, in days. Your posture improves, your energy spikes, your clothes fit better. And that motivates consistency. You're no longer forcing yourself to train. You're pulled toward it because the feedback loop is working. You put in effort, you get reward. That's real motivation. That's what builds discipline. But none of this works without intention. You can't just move around randomly. You need deliberate reps, deliberate rest, deliberate breathing. That's how you teach the nervous system to adapt. That's how you avoid injury. That's how you build strength, not just sweat. So here's your action plan. Pick 4-6 compound movements, do them in a circuit. Work for 30, 40 seconds, rest for 20, move to the next. Do 3 rounds, 15, 20 minutes total. If you can do it in the morning, even better. It sets your metabolic tone for the day. Pair it with smart eating, good sleep, and hydration, and your body has no choice but to shift. And don't chase soreness. Soreness is a byproduct, not a goal. What you're chasing is activation, not exhaustion. If you finish your workout and feel sharp, clear, energized, you did it right. This isn't about crushing yourself. It's about signaling your body to evolve. Most people try to outsweat their diet. They run, they jump, they grind, and then they eat emotionally to compensate for the stress they created. But when you train intelligently, you don't create stress, you create resilience. You finish stronger than you started. You don't need cheat days because your system is stable. You're no longer reacting, you're leading. And that's the key. Lead your physiology. Don't let it lead you. Show your body what's needed. Demand strength, not weakness. Demand energy, not fatigue. Demand progress, not survival. Because every drop of sweat, every rep, every round, it's not just burning calories, it's sending a signal to your brain, your hormones, your mitochondria. We're not here to survive, we're here to thrive. And the more you signal that, the more your body adapts. Fat becomes fuel, muscle becomes armor, movement becomes identity. You stop chasing fat loss and start becoming the kind of person who burns fat effortlessly. Most people think fat loss is all about what you do when you're awake, what you eat, how you train, how much you move. But there's one factor most people ignore, and it's the one that determines whether all of your effort will actually work. That factor is sleep. Sleep isn't just a break from your day. It's a metabolic reset. It's where your body does its most important fat-burning, hormone-regulating, muscle-repairing work. If you're serious about losing fat, especially without cardio or starvation, you have to stop thinking of sleep as optional. It is non-negotiable. You can eat perfectly and train with precision, but if your sleep is broken, you will stall your fat loss. That's not an opinion, that's biology. Your body is governed by a circadian rhythm. It's like a 24-hour master clock hardwired into your brain. It regulates everything, your metabolism, your mood, your energy, your hormones. And this rhythm isn't just about when you feel sleepy or alert. It's about when your body is primed to burn fat or store it. When your circadian rhythm is aligned, your hormones sync up, your digestion improves, and your fat-burning machinery runs smoothly. But when it's disrupted by late nights, blue light, stress, or erratic routines, your body gets confused. It holds on to fat. It craves sugar. It loses discipline. Cortisol is one of the main players here. Most people associate cortisol with stress, and yes, it's the stress hormone, but it's also essential for fat metabolism when it's working in rhythm. Cortisol should spike in the morning, helping you wake up and mobilize energy. It should gradually drop throughout the day, hitting its lowest point at night so melatonin can rise and guide you into deep sleep. But when you're staying up late, scrolling your phone, exposing your eyes to artificial light at midnight, you're delaying melatonin, elevating cortisol, and essentially telling your body it's daytime. Stay alert, store fat, prepare for stress. So the solution isn't just to sleep more, it's to sleep better and at the right times. Aiming for 7-9 hours of high quality sleep each night is essential, but even more powerful is aligning that sleep with your natural circadian rhythm. That means being in bed before midnight, ideally closer to 10 p.m., so your body can enter deep restorative phases while growth hormone is at its peak. Growth hormone is critical for fat loss and muscle repair. It surges during deep sleep, especially in the first third of the night. If you stay up late and miss that window, you miss the signal. You blunt the very thing your body needs to shift composition. Now let's talk about the depth of your sleep, not just the quantity. Quality sleep involves full cycles: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM. Each phase serves a purpose. Deep sleep is where most of the fat burning and tissue repair happens. REM is where your brain consolidates memories and resets neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. You want both. But here's the issue. Most people get broken, shallow sleep. They fall asleep late, wake up tired, feel groggy, and need caffeine to function. That's not real sleep. That's metabolic chaos. What's driving this chaos? A lot of it comes down to what you do in the 60 minutes before bed. This is the most underestimated fat loss window of the entire day. Most people are stimulating themselves right before sleep. Bright lights, screens, intense conversations, late meals. All of these elevate alertness and delay recovery. You need to treat the hour before sleep like a pre-launch sequence. Darken your environment. Shut down overhead lighting. Dim the screens or shut them off entirely. If you need light, use red or amber lighting. It doesn't suppress melatonin the way blue light does. And just as light tells your brain it's daytime, temperature tells your brain it's time to sleep. Cool room, around 18 to 20 DC, 65, 68 DFF, helps your body drop core temperature, which is necessary for deep sleep. That drop in body temperature is a biological signal. It helps initiate sleep and improves its depth. If your environment is too hot or your body hasn't cooled down, your sleep will be fragmented, and fragmented sleep means elevated cortisol the next day, which means increased cravings, poor decision making, and reduced fat oxidation. Now here's something most people never consider: the relationship between sleep and hunger hormones. When you're sleep deprived, your ghrelin, the hormone that makes you feel hungry, goes up. At the same time, leptin, the hormone that tells you you're full, goes down. This creates a perfect storm: more hunger, less satisfaction, and poor control. You eat more, crave more sugar, and store more fat, not because you're weak, but because your biology is trying to compensate for poor sleep. That's why people who sleep only 5 to 6 hours a night consistently gain weight, even if they eat the same number of calories as someone who sleeps 8 hours. The body, under sleep stress, becomes metabolically conservative. It stores fat instead of burning it because it senses you're under threat. And that's exactly what poor sleep is: a threat signal. And here's where things get even more powerful. When you start prioritizing recovery, when you give your body permission to sleep, to rest, to heal, you actually accelerate the results of everything else you're doing. Your workouts hit harder, your food gets digested more efficiently, your mental discipline improves. Why? Because your brain and body are no longer operating in survival mode, they're operating in performance mode. Sleep also balances dopamine, your motivation molecule. When your dopamine system is well regulated, you don't need to rely on willpower. You actually want to train. You want to eat well. You want to stay focused. This is how high performers stay consistent, not because they're better, but because their biology is optimized. You can also support sleep and recovery with targeted practices. One of the most effective tools is NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. It's a protocol that mimics the brainwave states of deep sleep while you're still awake. You can do it through yoga nidra or specific guided breath work. Just 10-20 minutes of NSDR during the day can reduce cortisol, improve recovery, and boost energy, all without needing a nap or caffeine. Another is morning sunlight exposure. First thing in the morning, get outside. Let natural light hit your eyes. This sets your circadian rhythm in motion, anchors your wake time, and the next full cycle twice as long and half as deep. Sets a biological timer for melatonin to be released about 14, 16 hours later. That means if you see morning light at 7 a.m., your body starts prepping for sleep at 9, 11 p.m. That's how you lock in rhythm. You're not forcing sleep, you're earning it. And when sleep is consistent, your metabolism becomes a precision machine. You stop having energy crashes, you stop relying on sugar to get through the day, you stop hitting plateaus because you're no longer just eating well and training hard. You're allowing your body to respond. And this is what most people never realize. Recovery is not the absence of effort. It's the amplifier of effort. It's where the changes actually happen. You don't build muscle during your workout. You build it during sleep. You don't burn fat during your fast. You burn it most effectively while you sleep when insulin is low and growth hormone is high. You don't gain clarity from working harder. You gain it from recovering. So if you've been doing everything right, eating well, training consistently, and still not seeing the results you want, look at your sleep. It's the missing link, the final gear in the system. Because once your body feels safe, rested, and recovered, it no longer holds on to fat. It lets go. It trusts you. It starts working with you, not against you. Everything we've talked about, strategic eating, short resistance training, optimizing sleep and recovery, it all works. But there's one more piece that most people overlook. And without it, none of this matters. That piece is consistency. Not perfection, not intensity, consistency. Your body doesn't change because you had a good day. Your brain doesn't rewire from one great workout or one clean meal. Change happens through repetition, through patterns, rhythms, cycles that your biology can rely on. We are creatures of rhythm, not chaos. And when your body senses consistency, when it experiences the same inputs day after day, it begins to adapt. And this adaptation is not random. It's precise. It's neurochemical. It's hormonal. It's behavioral. When you repeat a behavior with intent, your brain rewires its circuits around it. Your metabolism follows. Your energy recalibrates and your identity starts to shift. Not because you're trying to become someone else, but because you're finally giving your body the time and space to become what it's built to be. But here's the problem. We live in a culture that worships speed, quick results, instant gratification. If the scale doesn't move in 3 days, we panic. If we miss a day, we quit. If we don't feel it working by the end of week 1, we start looking for the next magic solution. But your body is not a machine that you can hack in 24 hours. It's a living, dynamic, adaptive system. And like any intelligent system, it needs time and trust to change. That's why 21 days is so powerful, because it's not forever, but it's long enough to break old patterns and build new ones. It's long enough for your body to stop reacting and start responding. It's long enough for your brain to stop resisting and start aligning. And more importantly, it's long enough to show you that this process isn't about grinding yourself into the ground. It's about building momentum. Momentum is everything. It's what carries you when motivation dies out. And it always does. Motivation is unreliable. It comes in bursts, in waves. But momentum, that's earned. You build momentum every time you show up when you don't feel like it. Every time you make a clean meal instead of reaching for what's easy. Every time you train for 15 minutes even though you're tired. Those moments seem small, but they're not. Their identity shifts. And those shifts compound. It's tempting to think that the people with the best physiques or the most discipline are somehow different, but they're not superhuman. They've just mastered the art of repetition. They've made simple, effective decisions again and again, even when it was boring, even when it wasn't exciting, even when it didn't feel like it was working. That's what separates results from regret, the ability to stay consistent when nothing is happening yet. So here's what that looks like. In real time, for 21 days, you don't make excuses. You make structure. You force yourself to make decisions. You learn to eat 3 intentional meals a day. No snacking. Protein first. No skipping meals. No skipping recovery. No guessing. You train for 15, 20 minutes a day. You don't need to be perfect, but you need to be present. You need to show your body, I'm here. I'm doing the work. Watch me. And you don't miss sleep. You protect it like it's part of the program, because it is. You shut down the distractions, set the conditions, and make your rest sacred, because that's where everything you did during the day actually takes root. The brain needs that consistency too. Every day that you repeat a pattern, your neurons wire tighter around it. The connection gets stronger. What used to feel hard starts to feel natural. That first week, your brain resists. It fights back. That's the old system trying to survive. But by day 7 or 8, you'll feel a shift. It gets easier, not because the process changed, but because you did. That's neuroplasticity. That's how your nervous system learns, not through information, but through experience. And something else happens around day 10 or 12. The results become visible, not just in the mirror, but in your behavior. You start walking differently. You talk to yourself differently. You make decisions with clarity instead of emotion. Why? Because you've proven through your actions that you can trust yourself. That's the real transformation. The fat loss is just a byproduct of a deeper shift. By day 15, your energy is different. You're waking up earlier. You're sharper in the afternoon. You're not crashing or craving sugar or caffeine. That's your metabolic system finally working with you, not against you. Your body is no longer confused. It knows what to expect. And because it knows what to expect, it becomes efficient. Fat starts to mobilize, muscle becomes denser, sleep becomes deeper, hunger becomes predictable. You're not trying to lose weight. You're operating in a system that creates fat loss. And by day 21, your identity has caught up. You're no longer thinking like someone who needs motivation. You're thinking like someone who does this now. And that shift is irreversible if you let it be. Because once your nervous system realizes that this rhythm serves you, that your energy, strength, clarity, and mood are better in this state, it starts to crave the pattern. And the old habits start to lose their grip. The reason most people fail is not because they're weak. It's because they expect results without rhythm. They try to outwork inconsistency. But biology doesn't respond to chaos, it responds to signal. Clear, repeated, focused signal. Your body needs to know this is how we eat, this is how we move, this is when we rest. Every day, no exceptions. And you'll be shocked at how fast it works when you stop starting over. When you commit to the process instead of bouncing between plans, when you stop measuring your progress in pounds and start measuring it in patterns, that's when fat loss becomes sustainable. That's when your body learns to trust you. That's when the external change becomes a reflection of the internal one. So don't look for hacks. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't let one off day turn into a lost week. Just decide that for 21 days you're going to show up, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and behaviorally. And you'll be amazed at what happens when your biology finally feels safe enough to change. Because 21 days of consistency will do what 6 months of inconsistency never could. So here's the truth most people never hear. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You don't need to punish yourself into progress. What you need is 21 days of clear, committed, consistent action. No cardio, no starvation, just strategy. Eat with intention, train with focus, sleep like it matters, and repeat. Because when your biology is aligned, your discipline becomes automatic, your energy rises, your body listens, and fat loss becomes a side effect of a system that actually works. You're not waiting for change anymore. You are becoming it.